Hi, my name is Debbie, and I am currently tapering off of clonazepam. This is my fourth video. If you are at all interested in my story and how I got here, that's in my first video. Also, before we get started, I would highly encourage you to push pause and go grab a pen and a piece of paper because you might want to take some notes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So we've all heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I personally do not believe that that's true. Well, why is that? Well, words create thoughts, thoughts create emotions, emotions create chemicals, and those chemicals are not good. I talk about those in my first video. Those chemicals are not conducive to healing. They do not make our withdrawal feel better at all. Another analogy that I like to use is 30 years ago, I was in a very physically and verbally abusive relationship. And while the physical abuse was really rough, for me, the verbal abuse was so much more destructive. And when I describe it to people what it was like, I like to use the example of a bar of soap and a squirt gun. So, at first, if you're doing this with the squirt gun, nothing is going to happen to the bar of soap. But over the course of time, just like those words, those awful things that someone says to you, the squirt gun will bore a hole through that soap, and those words will bore a hole through your soul. And, the sad thing is that you start believing it. I mean, I went into that relationship believing, knowing that I was strong, I was resourceful, I was resilient. And by the time I got out of that relationship, I literally believed I was the ugliest, dumbest, most awful person on the face of the planet. And on top of that, those thoughts and those words, even before we were going through benzo withdrawal, I mean, they will literally make you sick. So, so how does that pertain to benzo withdrawal? So there's two reasons. Number one is these drugs lie to you, just like an abusive partner. For whatever reasons, the chemicals that take the changes that take place in our brain because of these drugs changes the way that we think. And so all of a sudden, our brain is telling us things like, you're weak and you'll never get through this and it's going to last forever. And at its worst, it might tell you to just end it all, just kill yourself. Number two is you start believing it. And then you start repeating it to yourself. And that brings me to one of my favorite sayings, which is, if you argue for your limitations, then sure enough, they're yours. So we need to, it's so crucial that we remind ourselves of who we really are and what we're really capable of. So here is an exercise that I would highly encourage you to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down 3 things that you have overcome in your life and spend some time thinking back and coming up with the 3 worst things that you overcame. And then I want you to write down 3 things that you have accomplished. Um, and again, it could be starting a business. It could be planning a wedding. I mean, it could be anything that really took some determination and skill to accomplish. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the link that I put in the description, which is going to bring up a list of personal traits. And you're going to read through that list, and then you're going to write down every single trait that pertains to either the three things that you overcame or the three things that you accomplished. And I'm telling you, you are going to be amazed at how long that list is. You are going to be amazed at how much you have forgotten about who you really are and how amazing and strong you really are. And then from those words, I want you to pick 5 to 10 that you feel most pertains to the situation that you're in now, your tapering and withdrawal process. And then you're going to create some affirmations from those. So let me say a few things about affirmations. Um, if you're old enough, you might remember Stuart Small from Saturday Night Live. If you don't know who he is, just YouTube him. He's hilarious. And also, probably most of us have listened to self-help gurus that said, just say, I am a millionaire 1,000 times a day, and lo and behold, you will become a millionaire. And I don't personally think that that's true. I think our brain is smarter than that. I think it knows when you're telling a lie. So I prefer to create affirmations that are based on fact, that are based on things that I have actually overcome or accomplished. So, as an example, I know that I am very resilient and strong. So, one of my affirmations is I know based on my past triumphs that I am resilient and strong and I will overcome this. And then I like to add in a declaration, again, based on my past accomplishments. And I will be free of these drugs in 6 months because that's my current goal based on where I'm at. And you don't want to say these in a wimpy way. I mean, you want to say them with conviction because they're true. So, easy exercise, doesn't take long. I would again highly encourage you to do it because you again will be amazed at how much you've forgotten about who you really are. And I promise you, it's going to make you feel so much better. So before I wrap up this video, I do want to talk about 2 videos that I watched this week that were super impactful for me. One of them is, and again, I've put links in the description to both of these videos, so I would really, really encourage you to watch them. So one of them is on David Goggins, and I'm going to have to read his accomplishments, and his accomplishments are much longer than what I'm going to share with you, but it will give you an idea of how amazing this guy is. So, he is widely recognized as the toughest man on earth. He is the only man to complete SEAL training, Ranger School, Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He went through Hell Week 3 times. He completed an ultra marathon with pneumonia. He once held the Guinness record for pull-ups in a 24-hour period. It was like 4,000 pull-ups. I can do like 3, maybe. And he once ran 209 miles in 39 hours without stopping. And on top of this, he came from a really, really rough childhood. Um, he's really interesting to listen to. He swears a lot. And, he tells people, I am a badass motherfucker. And what's really interesting is a couple days ago, out of the blue, I just started feeling really, really awful. And, as usual, all those feelings and thoughts, started bubbling up. Oh my God, here we go. I feel so awful. I can't do this. I'm so sick of this. Victim, victim, victim. And then I thought of David Goggins and I said, hey, and I actually said, and again, this is based on truth. This is based on what I've overcome in my life. And I literally said, I am a badass motherfucker. And I said it like 10, 15 times. And I swear to God, I started feeling better. It was amazing. So the second video is on Hal Eldron. And holy crap, has this man been through a lot. I mean, it literally almost makes me ashamed to even complain about what I'm going through. When he was 20, he had this horrific car crash. I mean, seriously, the pictures and the damage to his body is the worst that I have ever seen in my life. I mean, he literally died 3 times, one time for 6 minutes. He had brain damage. Um, they told him he would never walk again. And after a month, he was walking. And then 5 or 6 years later, he had his own business. Because of the financial crisis, he lost his home. He was almost in financial ruin. He overcame that. And as if that wasn't bad enough, several years later, he came down with a rare form of cancer that is very, very rapid, that like normally kills people within months. And the success rate is just incredibly small. And he overcame that too. So he's written several books, and one of them is called Miracle Morning. And I have actually implemented that into my routine. I've talked in my other videos about the fact that I already have regimens, but I have just really been inspired to step it up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Miracle Morning. Um, so this is the acronym that he uses, SAVERS, and I'm going to tell you what it means. So the S is for silence, and that can be prayer, it can be meditation. The A is for affirmations, which we have already talked about and done. The V is for visualizations, and I've talked about that in my other videos. My favorites are to either visualize and really remember how I used to feel and things that I used to do before this, and then think about how I'm going to feel. I mean, really get into the feeling of what it's going to be like when I'm past this and what I'm going to do and how much better and different my life is going to be. The E is for exercise, and I've talked about that as well. So, low impact is probably better. Cardio might be a little bit too difficult for most people. So I really like Tai Chi. Qigong is one of my favorites. Um, Yoga, great videos on YouTube for beginners. But I've actually added in a new exercise to my routine in the morning. Um, so I love Guardians of the Galaxy. So I get on YouTube and I put the soundtrack on and I dance to the first 4 songs. And it's awesome. And look, as human beings, I mean, it just seems to be built into our DNA because we've been dancing since we could walk on 2 feet. And dancing is just such an integral part of so many cultures around the world. Um, so I would encourage you to try dancing. My cat thinks I'm crazy, but um, I love it. The R is for reading. I have a really hard time reading since I started tapering, but I already listen to motivational videos in the morning. So instead of reading, I listen. And then the S is for scribing, which is journaling. And again, that journal cannot be a giant bitch fest. It can't be about everything you've lost and how miserable you feel and how miserable your life is because, again, there's nothing healing and good that's going to come from that. It has to be a journal that's all about gratitude, what you're grateful for now, what you're going to be grateful for when you're past this, all the things that you're going to do when you're past this, and how you're going to feel when you're past this. Um, so, um, that's what the morning miracle is. And again, I've added this into my routine. So the last thing that I want to say is that at this point in time, honest to God, I've watched, I swear, like a gazillion videos on, either motivational or self-help, and they all have a common theme. And it doesn't matter if it's for business success, if it's overcoming cancer or some other horrible disease, or dealing with a trauma. It has two elements to it. Number one is that you have to get to the point where enough is enough. And then the second element is that you have to be willing and committed to doing whatever it takes. So, like this morning miracle thing, I'm getting up an hour earlier than I normally do. I am not a morning person. I hate getting up any second earlier than I have to. But I've been doing this tapering for a couple years now, and I have gotten to the point where enough is enough. And I am willing and I am committed to doing whatever it takes to heal as well as I can and as fast as I can. And I swear to you, I've only been doing the morning miracle for a few mornings, but I am surprised and delighted at how much more energy I have, how less the withdrawal symptoms have been, and just how overall better I feel. So, um, you just have to remember that before we started this process, we all probably joined a gym and went for like a week, maybe a month at best, and then we quit. But the reality is that your level of success will be directly related to your level of effort. So, thank you for watching this video. I hope that you have found something helpful in it. And if you again want to subscribe to my channel, please do so. I've created some playlists on there that you might also find helpful. Again, I wish you healing, peace, joy, gratitude, and love. Thank you so much.